Hello, and welcome to Brand Clarity by Visions to Images, where we focus on strategy and business development for entrepreneurs at all different levels through branding and digital marketing techniques. Susie Liberatore is the founder and art director of Visions to Images Creative Services, LLC. For the last decade, she has personally been instrumental in bridging gaps between the global digital market and neighborhood locations for some of the biggest brands around. Growth is possible for even a single location with the right professional branding techniques and Susie's signature strategies of Visions to Images. Stand out from your competitors and bring your visions to life while watching your sales skyrocket. Your host for this is Susie Liberatore, owner of Visions to Images. Hello, everybody. Today on the podcast, I have Scott Hanis with Fortitude HR Solutions. He is actually a part of Synergy Networking, which is in Medina, Ohio. So it's been really fun and exciting to meet him and see all these other amazing people in this group. And I thought he would be good. I haven't had anybody on for HR. So welcome, Scott.
Thank you very much, Susie. I appreciate you having me on. And yeah, it's been great to get to know you and everybody in Synergy. Definitely a great group of people. And we
Yeah,
do so much awesome stuff for the community. And I love to be able to give back. So it's been a good fit for me too. So
same. Absolutely. I love it. So tell us a little bit about how you got started. Tell us a little bit about you, how you got started, all of that
yeah,
kind of fun stuff.
all the stuff that no one wants to listen to. So I'm born and raised here in Cleveland, Ohio. Went to different schools locally. I went to St. Joseph and John, then I went to Padua Franciscan High School. I graduated college from Baldwin Wallace and just fell into HR kind of as a happen of chance. I was working for a company doing sales and project management type stuff and got an opportunity to work for a family-owned business that did home electronics repairs as well as car stereos and video navigation systems and instrument cluster panels, kind of where your speedometer and your odometer are located in your car.
Mhm.
And they gave me my first opportunity to get into human resources. They didn't have somebody that was dedicated doing HR. They had a couple different people doing that. And so they knew I was a people person. I liked helping people. And so they gave me the opportunity. And that was back in 2005. So I've been in HR for almost 15, almost going on 16 years. I started that in March of '05, and just I love helping people. I've been everything from an HR manager to a senior HR regional manager to a director of human resources to a vice president of human resources, kind of like climbing my way up the corporate ladder.
Mhm.
And then back in June of 2019, through the encouragement of one of my neighbors who happens to be a great friend and a mentor, his name's Tim Bratz. Tim decided and encouraged me really to kind of quit my job and start my own company. So I've owned Fortitude HR Solutions since June of 2019. It's been an absolute amazing journey, 18 months as an entrepreneur. You go through some of those highs, lows, the peaks and valleys, but I've been incredibly blessed and fortunate with just a ton of work. And I love what I do. I get to help people every day. I mean, obviously it's a way for me to support and provide for my family, but I get to help people every day. So it's something I'm passionate about.
Yeah, that's great. So 18 months you've been in business.
Correct.
So how has things kind of changed since the pandemic happened for your business?
So I do human resources consulting,
Mhm.
and I also do recruiting for small and medium-sized businesses throughout the United States. I work with a lot of real estate investors just
Mhm.
because Tim, my neighbor, just happens to be connected to a ton of people. He has over 4,000 apartment units throughout the US.
Mhm.
And so he's kind of opened up his network and just put me in touch with the right people. And so at the start of the pandemic in March, it's a funny story. Tim and I were actually in Puerto Rico, and it was I'll never forget. It was March 15th. We're wrapping up the event that day. We went on a tour of Old San Juan, and somebody in the group got a call saying, "Hey, they may shut everything down. You better get home." So Tim and I and a couple other people were frantically trying to get flights out of San Juan, Puerto Rico. We were able to get flights into JFK, and then we ended up driving through the night. Tim and I did from New York City all the way back to Cleveland, and so that was a fun experience. And then everything went on lockdown, in Ohio here on March 16th or 17th, whatever it was, and
Mhm.
that happened through the end of April. So I had 26 different recruiting roles that we were trying to fill, between myself and my team. And then as COVID hit and things kind of, continue to progress, that went down to about 6 roles. And
Mm,
so we lost about 20 roles. Some businesses completely just, shut the jobs down. Some pivoted and went in different directions.
mm,
And so, we tried to do more consulting, which is something I'm really passionate about, like going in and helping a small and medium-sized company. Like a lot of those businesses, they can't afford a full-time like HR professional. And so going in and helping companies kind of come up with their company values, what is their moral compass, what's their culture all about, and then working on, what's the org structure, what should it look like maybe now versus in the future. Are we paying our employees correctly? Are they classified correctly as W-2? And then also looking at like writing job descriptions, getting a pulse of the organization for how things are going. But then also there's an HR compliance side, obviously making sure we're filling out the new hire forms correctly, they're using the right forms, and then developing like performance management systems and setting goals and objectives for these business leaders. Because there's a saying out there, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. So
mm.
we have to make sure we have good communication, we give clear expectations to our employees and our team members. Otherwise, we're doing a bad job as a leadership group, in my opinion. So we really pivoted a lot to doing more consulting, probably starting in the middle of April. And then recruiting really picked back up at the end of April. So again, very fortunate that I work with a lot of real estate investors, and that industry has not really been hit extremely hard by the pandemic. It's kind of been the opposite. As you know, like Christina, we have a mutual connection, and real estate's just booming right
Oh
now.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's kind of weird how everybody's so affected differently when it kind of comes to that. I mean, obviously restaurants and salons and all of those people have been hurt more so than, like you said, real estate people and other companies. I mean, I, knock on wood, have been okay, and things have been kind of actually picking up because people want to invest, but some people also want to pull away or were scared or whatnot. But I think at the beginning was when it was really tough because nobody knew what was going to happen. But now things are kind of different and they can see that they need that assistance or help, and
well,
be.
and Susie, what you do, like in my opinion, like marketing doesn't get enough credit, because at the end of the day, you need to invest in marketing, which drives sales and revenue for your business, and you need
Yeah,
to invest in your people and your team,
for sure.
right? And
Right.
so, the services that you offer and the services that I offer, I mean, those are critical, because at the end of the day, that's
Absolutely.
how businesses are going to grow and expand and build. There's a lot of businesses that are, that are thriving right now because
Absolutely.
they made the appropriate changes during the pandemic, and there's some that unfortunately did not. So
I agree 100%. And I think that marketing is always the first thing that people kind of pull back on. I feel like most of the times because they're like, oh, it's not working, or we don't need it, or we're not getting results, all of the things, especially during a pandemic when they're like, we need to pull back on something. So I feel like marketing is always that thing that people pull back on. And clearly they pulled back a little bit on you as well when
right,
you had that 26 roles and it kind of shrunk down to
right.
be shorter. But then they come back around, like you say, and it's just crazy, this whole world that has changed so much in the past, what, 10 months, 9, 8, I don't even know, I lost track, and who knows what's
Every day
uh,
is the same.
yeah, seriously. So what is something that you are super excited about? It seems like the consulting end of things is what you're excited about as far as your business goes, right?
Yeah, I mean, so like I was in Virginia in December working with a really great client, and they own a trucking,
Mm,
site excavation, site development type company. And to see their potential growth, like they grew by $5 million. They went from 10
mm,
to $15 million from 2019 into 2020. And that
nice.
was really cool. We worked on developing business plans and goals for, the next year, the next 3 years, and the next 5 years. And we were able to kind of map out how this business can grow to be $100 million company in the next 5 years. And it's very, very doable with the momentum and the clientele that they have, and kind of just some of the work that they do, plus the market, right? But they're in a very good market. They're very close to Washington, D.C. There's a lot of industry that's booming there. So like that's a real passion for me, is helping people, set their businesses up for success. And the hard part of consulting, and this too, Susie, is at the end of the day, we can't force anybody to do anything. We
Mhm.
can provide guidance and be a coach and kind of a support for these business owners. But at the end of the day, they have to take actionable steps in order to see results and to see things change.
Absolutely. And I know because I do some consulting and coaching, and then I also do a lot of
Mhm.
implementation. So there's always that stretch because they don't want to spend a lot of money. So they go with the cheaper route. But the cheaper route is do they do that coaching and consulting? Are they doing it correctly? Are they doing what is
Right.
asked? Or, I mean, you can see so much more results when you implement it, when somebody else implements it for you that is in that field and is that expert. Whereas
Mhm.
coaching and consulting, like they're doing it. And then you ask them, well, did you do this for this week? And they're like, well, I did, but I didn't see no traffic, or I forgot. I mean, I hear it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, what is your goal? Like, or what is holding you back? Like, why aren't you doing it? All of the things, and then pulling up the data and kind of walking them through it is so important. But I mean, the coaching and consulting is one part, and it's fun and it's different, but I also feel like people, yeah, they just don't do what's asked or implement all the time or
Right.
correctly.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, I think, a struggle of anybody that coaches or consults people.
Right.
I think, part of that comes back to us. Like, we have to help educate people on why they need
Exactly.
to maybe make those changes, right? So, when I did international HR. I worked in Brazil and Mexico, and I would travel to either Brazil or Mexico once a month. And getting buy-in and getting support from the team was always a critical part of any type of change that we put in place. So
Mhm.
explaining kind of the why we're doing it, what and this is what we need from you, and this is how it can potentially get better. That was an important part of the change management aspect.
Right, absolutely. It's like you said, it's education and making sure that you pull back the layers or pull back what's bothering them or why they're not doing it, and or
Right.
helping them understand, okay, well, you did this, so you can get to X. Like a lot of times people just want results so quickly, and I'm sure you agree with that.
Yep.
And
Oh
it's
yeah.
like you have to make those steps before you can actually see results. So, yeah,
Yeah, one of my bosses or leaders said you have to crawl, then walk, then run, and
exactly.
I think that's
I love
really,
it.
really true. Yeah.
I love it. Hey, let's stop for just 1 second during this podcast episode. I know you're so excited to get back and listen, but I wanted to chat with you and talk about how we really work with businesses. What we really do is we dive in and we ask so many questions. We go through a series of questionnaires and extensive research to really help you get a clear, identifiable plan of action that needs to happen for your business. If you want to hear more about this, go to visions2images.com, click the contact us button, and we will be happy to set up a time to chat more. So, my last question for you is if you had any advice for somebody who's either starting off or looking to hire HR, anything to that effect, what advice would you give them?
Well, number one, don't skimp and don't spend money on marketing. Like, spend money on that stuff. Like, that really helps. And you'll appreciate this. So I'm not like real big like flashy person. I don't like to go on social media,
Mhm.
but I'm forcing myself. So December 11th, I made a promise to myself. I'm going to post something on social media every day for the next 30 days.
Yeah,
And so, like, there's a lot of power in social media marketing, and obviously that.
yeah,
So spend the money and do the social media stuff. Like, that's a real important thing. And then, analyze your business. Like, if you can take your business from, $1 million to $2 million, what are those steps that you need to take? And, if you're an owner of a company or a business, like, focus on the revenue generating activities, the things that make you money, the things that don't, like if it's, answering phones, or if it's updating your website, or if it's paying bills, like, you can source that stuff out. Either find a
totally.
third party consultant like Susie for marketing,
Mhm.
work with a bookkeeper, for example, on the
Yeah,
that bill pay and APAR side, or go hire somebody internally as part of your team that's going to help you focus on the bigger picture items. Because a lot of small business owners and business owners in general, like, we're very visionary, but we don't want to always execute and implement, like you said, Susie. So having that vision is great, but then you need to find the who can do the how, right?
right.
And you really go after it and put things in place. So.
Yeah, I mean, I completely understand. And I mean, I actually have some series that I'm doing, like how I scaled my business and grew within a year. And I talked about outsourcing. I mean, that was probably
Mhm.
one of the biggest things. I have an accountant, I have an admin assistant who does those invoices and makes sure all of that project stuff is being taken care of. And then having copy editors and writers and a website and SEO. I mean, being able to have that. I mean, I can do all of those things, but do I need to be spending my time doing it?
Yeah.
Not, no.
What's the highest and best use of your time, right? And if you
Exactly.
can still, if you can manage the other team members and the people that work with, whether they're subcontractors or full-time employees or virtual assistants, as long as you clearly communicate what are the expectations and this is what I expect, at the end of the
Exactly.
day, like, if they don't perform, then you can find somebody who will. So,
Exactly. I love it. Yeah. I mean, and I just hired a VA recently to do it's not really necessarily VA work, but it's more like repurposing and some content and stuff like that and some lead generation. So it's a lot of toss up. And I mean, we're seeing how it goes and what I actually need help with, because I know I need help and things are sucking my time. So it's trying to figure out what she can do and what I can do to kind of come together. So there's a lot of trial and error, but it seems like it's working. So always being open-minded, I think too, is key, because they want to grow with you and you want to grow with them. So kind of making sure that you, like you said, communication is key and you can find what they know they need to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if you don't share your vision and where you want to go as an owner of a company, but yet you expect your team of people, whether they're full-time W-2, subcontractors, VAs, like they're not going to get there, or they may not stay with you because people want to have the ability to grow, right? And most people don't want to take a job and stay in that job the rest of their life. Most people have some type of ambition. It may not be right away, it may be over a period of time, but if you communicate what your vision is and where you want to go and how you're going to get there, like people get excited about that. They'll rally with you. They'll run through the brick walls with you because they want to be a part of the team. And that's the fun part about being a business owner.
Absolutely. I agree. I love it. All right. Well, is there anything else, Scott, that you wanted to share?
No, I just, again, I appreciate you having me on today. I think it's been a great discussion. I do have one question because, I'm still a new entrepreneur here. In your first year or first couple of years as an entrepreneur, like how did you balance the time? That's something like I'm continuing to learn how to do better at, because I shared with you before we started this conversation. I was up till 5 a.m. working, and then I had an 8 o'clock consulting call today. And so like I struggle, because as being an entrepreneur, you have more free time per se, but even though it's not free, and versus like when I worked in the corporate setting, I may have worked, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and then came home and worked for a couple hours. Now it's like, I can kind of create my own schedule and work with my clients. And, I'm married and I have a 13-year-old son. So I want to spend some time with my wife and my son, but I struggle because like, I always feel like I need to give back and I want to help people. And so like, I do some volunteer work at a couple churches and a school. And the hard part is saying no, which I know I need to work on. But I don't know if you have any like advice on like the balance act of kind of the work. And I know that you do a nice job. I saw when I was scheduling this appointment to do the podcast, kind of like your office hours, which I thought were really good. But I don't know if you have any advice for someone like myself or anybody that might be listening that's a new entrepreneur.
So my office hours, it's funny, I say those are my office hours, but really and truly, like that just means don't bug me. And I have like clients, I go through like at the beginning of client onboarding, like I say, these are my office hours. You can expect like quicker results this way. You can always text me or whatnot. But I mean, I feel like I'm always working, but office hours are like the set time, like, okay, you're in the office and people can bug you and
Right.
that stuff. So they kind of understand that. But then sometimes I'm emailing on like a Sunday or a Monday, like it's 9 p.m. or something. So it's like, it's okay to do those things, I think. And they don't always have to know that it's from me or that you can schedule stuff too. So it's different. But my first year in business was probably not a good example because I was married and when my first year of business, I didn't really know what I was doing, to be honest. Like, and I was doing like almost like VA work because I knew what graphic design and I knew I wanted to do an agency and marketing and stuff, but I was doing VA stuff because I didn't think that people would pay for my services. So it was kind of different because it wasn't as hard-headed hustling kind of thing. When I talk about this all the time. I hired a sales coach, and that's what really drove me to change so much in my mind because she was like a mentor. She helped me get sales. She helped me talk about my worth. Like she helped me with so much stuff. So that's when I really shifted to be a business owner and really have that agency and understand how to like manage time and what I needed to do. A lot of times, like every morning, I write out things that need to be done and things that I want to be done. If I get all of the needs done, I can do the wants. And then I still have a lot of problems with time, to be honest. But I mean, I try to keep like the weekends for like my own marketing or client stuff that need to be caught up on. And I spend maybe 2-3 hours on the weekend, like maybe a day or something. And then the rest of it is like cleaning and prepping for the week,
Right.
making sure that everything can be done. I try my hardest to do that. And I know I can outsource things if I need to. And I know that I have the power to just say no or step away from whatever I need to do. And I've been actually better too about not trying to read my emails all the time, because before I would get an email and I would be like, oh my God, I got to answer right now. But
Right.
you don't need to do all of that. So like just balancing and knowing that, like my sales coach tells me all the time, you're in charge. Like you don't have to get back to somebody right away. You don't have to do all of the things. You can outsource it. You can get the help that you need, and you can pick and choose what you need to do day to day. And I use Trello as like a CRM project management stuff. I don't know. I kind of have everything in there and a lot of different boards, but I really look at it as, okay, this client, like I keep the process going. They're onboarding, they need to do this, they need to do that, they need to pay, they need it, like keeping all of it going and systemized, so that I don't sit there and wonder, oh my God, what do I need to do? And having those due dates and really having a schedule, like if I need to do content, when do I do content? Do I start it on the 15th of the month so that it's ready for the next month because they have to approve it and all that? So it's really like a process. Like you have to figure out your processes and where you're spending your time, I think, as a business owner, to really help before you can even adjust your time management, figure out what you are doing and how to best utilize it.
No, that's good advice. Yeah. And I think I always want to learn. I always want to get better, and this is still a journey for me. I'm still like a, toddler, I'm 18 months in.
Yeah.
And, I've done that with the recruiting side. I have 4 people that help me with recruiting, and then I have my wife does all my back office stuff,
Sure.
so I think this year probably, again, for me to grow is probably to hire a couple people. So no, that was good information. I appreciate that insight.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for asking.
No problem. Yeah, and again, thank you very much for having me on. It was definitely a great conversation, and definitely use Susie if you need marketing help. Use Susie; she's great. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Same to you. Use your HR stuff.
All right, Susie.
All right.
I really appreciate your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening in on this episode today. Please make sure to check out the links from your guest and Visions to Images to learn more about each other. It takes a village, as you know, so connect and grow with one another together. Thank you so much for listening.